Mahwah is the largest community in Bergen County, with a total residents of about 25,890 residents. The median age of Mahwah is 40 years and 5 months, and the township of Mahwah has 1,001 people per square mile living in it. In 2000, when the previous census was taken, there was only 24,062 residents, and there were only 928 people per square mile.
The current median household income here in Mahwah is a little over 92,000, and this is compared to median household income of 79,000 back in 2000 when the last census was taken. So here in Mahwah, we have what's called a mayor-council system, where we have a mayor and we also have a council made up of 7 council members. The elections for the mayor and the council members are nonpartisan, so that means there are no political parties involved. Our current mayor is William C. Lafayette. He was elected mid-2011 and is currently serving, although there are questions as to whether he should keep serving. There are 7 town council members. The president is John F. Roth. The vice president is Stephen Sabaro. And then in addition, there are other residents who serve on 12 distinct boards and commissions, such as the Historical Committee and the Cable Television Committee, which regulate certain finer details in Mahwah.
Alright, 6. Into the Masonic schoolhouse. Here we are at what was previously known as the Masonic schoolhouse, which is now the New Ark Church. This building was built in 1820 by Mr. Adolphus Schwart. There were several schoolhouses in the Mahwah area. This was one of them. Now this building was previously established over here on the opposite side of the street and then relocated here.
In 1956, the township of Mahwah's fire department company number 3 purchased this spot and added this addition here on. And you cannot see now because it's converted into church space, but these once were garage bays for the fire engines. Then the building became known as the Ramapo Hills Chapel. In 2014, the Ramapo Hills Chapel ended its relationship with this building, and currently it is the New Ark Church.
Alright, so I'm gonna guess Mr. Winter in the Masonicus schoolhouse with the candlestick.
Mahwah Depot.
So here we are at the old train station in the center of Mahwah, and this is one of the original Erie Railroad trains. It's now been converted into a museum, but one time this was one of the main trains that ran along this line. Beginning in the 1860s, Mahwah residents such as the Winter family pushed not only to have a railroad station in Stuffern, but to have one here in Mahwah. And this new railroad station, which was eventually built, was used to ship things such as the strawberries. So maybe we do have some poisoned strawberries. Also milk, produce, things that were made all across the township. So the present Mahwah train station is right here. Back in the 20th century, they took that old station, relocated over there, and built this new modern one. So So after you leave the Mahwah Depot, if you make a right on Franklin Turnpike, go down a little bit, you'll be at these beautiful stone walls, and this was what was once the entrance to Cragmere Park, which is a very historic section of Mahwah. It was started when New York City proprietor George Dunlop decided to purchase some tracts of land from the estate of Colonel Ezra Miller up this hill. What attracted people to this area was the very short and inexpensive train ride that could be had from New York all the way to Mahwah. At the time, it took only an hour and cost 12 cents. So really, Dunlop and his team wanted to attract people away from the city to the suburbs because they could so easily get into New York for work or shopping. So they imposed strict regulations on houses, distance between houses, presence of telephone poles. They were actually one of the first neighborhoods in the county to have electric street poles. They had a trolley service that would run up the hill, and people started flocking to this area. It was very gentrified and exclusive. At one point they didn't allow African Americans or Jews, and they tried to make it very culturally rich. They had women's societies, children's musical societies, art societies. A library was established up here. Inside Cragmere, on 111 Owino Road, lived Leo Bugg, who was the sales genius of Cragmere. He was hired by George Dunlop to attract people from New York City because he had an office in New York City. He was a very established real estate agent in New York City. He used terms such as the clearest and purest water from the earth and healthiest regions in all of the United States, with homes similar to the old English estates to describe this area. And he really did attract a sprawling, upper middle class group of people to come from the urban areas to Mahwah and really help foster its development in the 1900s. Mrs. Leo Bugg, Mary Bugg, was one of the most influential people in Cragmere and really in all of Mahwah. She organized numerous cultural societies, and in 1913 opened the first public library in Mahwah, the Mary C. Bugg Public Library. So this house was built by the Bugg family in 1916, and it's truly a beautiful craftsman-style house. You don't see many of these, and the way it's been kept up, landscape, is really beautiful. And back in the early 1900s, this was a real center of Cragmere. Mary Bugg would host parties, children would be out in the lawn, and really this was the place to be back in the 1910s, 1920s in Cragmere.
Alright, so I'm going to guess Mr. Holman in the Mahwah Depot with the shovel.
So I'm going to take this little secret passageway right here, and I'm going to go to the Hopper grave plots. This is the main grave site along Route 202 that is owned by Ramapo College. It's right along the banks of the Ramapo River, and if you look around, there are about 10 or so marked gravestones that you can easily distinguish the names such as Ackerman and Harrison. But then if you look around also, there are some small headstones that are marked by flags, which, as we can probably tell from the other gravesite, are actually slaves.
As you can see right here, we have an unmarked headstone that the professors here at Ramapo College claim to be a slave grave. And as you can see around here, we also have other slave graves unmarked, except by little orange flags they have placed in the ground.
So I'm going to guess Mr. Holman, and I'm going to guess him that he did it with the poisoned strawberries here at the Hopper gravesite.
The brake shoe factory behind me, one of probably the most suspicious places in Mahwah, was originally founded in 1900 by William, wait for it,
And I hope you have a jacket, because the next word is
Snow.
So this building and this company was not always known as the American Brake Shoe Foundry Company. It was originally known when it was established as the Ramapo Iron Works Company. But then in 1943, a few companies merged together. They started specializing in brake shoes, and it became the American Brake Shoe and Foundry Company. Then, 1961, a company called Abex bought it, and in 1983, unfortunately, it closed. It left this big, expansive building area vacant, but it has been turned into an extra space storage. This building is currently abandoned, and it's quite frankly pretty suspicious. But while this place was still alive, it did a lot for our country. It helped build tanks during World War II, and it also helped on the Manhattan Project, which developed the nuclear bomb. So really in Mahwah, the stuff we turned out of this factory was pretty essential to what we ended up contributing in the war.
I'm gonna guess that it was me, William Waite Snow, at the brake shoe factory with poisoned strawberries.
You know, this could definitely be the place where the murderer could have hid a body. Mr. Bonfield's body. Could be anywhere around here. Should really check this place out. Okay, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Winter's Pond. Here we are at Winter's Pond. This area was formerly owned by the Winter family, a very successful family back in the day. They were the most influential business family in their time. Through 5 full generations, they owned things such as antique stores, general stores, dairy farms. They owned the coal depot. Additionally, this area was a place where people came for recreational activities, you know, anything from fishing to playing a game of tag back in the day. The kids, the adults, they all loved it. This was a very, very fun place to come back in the day. Okay, so I'm gonna guess myself, Mr. Holman, the poisoned strawberries at Winter's Pond.
Can't help you.
Can't help you.
Currently standing at the Ramapo Reformed Church, and it happens to be one of the oldest public buildings in Mahwah, with over 200 years of local and regional existence. Now, in 1739, a small group of German Lutheran families dubbed this area that I'm standing in right now the Island. And basically, the church was home to Dutch, French, English, and Scottish settlers who were of the Reformed faith. In 1798, the present church that you see here today was built. And this church was actually simply known as the Community Church until around the 1950s. Here we are at the burial site of the famous Mahwah family, the Winters. And as you can see, there's multiple different names. The entire family's buried here. You have Andrew Winter, Martha Winter, John A. Winter, and it's actually kind of crazy how there's a bunch of other famous Mahwah families in the area, such as the Hopper family. You have Jane M. Hopper, David W. Hopper, and when you think about it, there's multiple families buried in this region, not just specific people, making it a famous graveyard.
This is where Mr. Bonfield was last seen along with the other suspects. And today, current meetings, such as the one that happened here, happen over on Corporate Drive at the Mahwah Municipal Building. So we're going to go transition there. We attended a meeting. We're going to see it and talk about it.
This is a combined work session and public meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Mahwah. The first order of business, I've had a request from Mrs. DeGiulio to address the council as well as the public, and she's asked for a couple of minutes, and I've agreed to allow her to speak before we begin our public portion.
I want to turn to my colleagues and apologize for my actions 3 weeks ago. It was extremely unprofessional.
In March of this year, respected Mahwah resident and Department of Works Director Ed Sinclair was fired from his position due to the alleged presence of inappropriate and possibly illegal material on his township computer. Under the mayor-council system, the township council members had the ability to override the termination of employment. So, on March 19th, at the town council work session, a vote was proposed to reinstate Mr. Sinclair. Mayor Lafayette was questioned by the council, but could not adequately justify the firing of the DPW chief. The council eventually voted 6-0 in favor of reinstating Mr. Sinclair. However, Mayor Lafayette brought the council into closed session. Away from the public, he attempted to show a conflict of interest and prove the vote illegitimate by showing that some council members, such as Mrs. DiGiulio, had ran for mayor alongside Mr. Sinclair in 2012. Infuriated by this political maneuver, and rumors that the mayor wished to eventually consolidate the DPW under Bergen County Public Works, Mrs. DiGiulio stepped up to the public seating area and began lashing out at Mayor Lafayette.
In my whole life, not just as a council person, I have never done anything like that. So I sincerely apologize to all the residents in Mahwah, to all the young people in Mahwah, to everyone in Mahwah for my unprofessional conduct. I'm so sorry.
Town council meeting, I thought it was very interesting how Mrs. DiGiulio apologized to everybody except for the mayor himself.
I won. And the nonsense has to stop here. You're here for the betterment of Mahwah, not for the betterment of yourselves. Because if not, then don't run, resign, get off here.
I am here tonight in support of Councilwoman Lisa DiGiulio. Lisa is someone who has served our community honorably for the past 28 years. My family and I would like to support you and the other council members for your support during this very difficult time in our lives. Thank you for reinstating my husband Ed Sinclair as the Mahwah of the DPW director. And finally, thank you for having the moral courage to stand up for justice.
I'm here tonight to show support for the mayoral recall. As a coalition supporter, I would like to start by reading our mission and vision. We are a growing coalition of Mahwah residents representing different political parties, backgrounds, and occupations, with one thing in common. We believe in our constitutional right to circulate petitions and hold a recall referendum at the next general election, November 3rd, 2015.
One thing that surprised me in this town council meeting was the immense amount of support from the general public for Councilwoman DiGiulio's actions that went on in the past town council meeting. This town council meeting, she apologized for her actions, yet there was still an immense amount of support from the general public for her previous actions, even though they were morally wrong.
One thing I was very surprised about at the town council meeting was the reaction of all the taxpayers when they found out about the replacing of the water tanks and how much of an expense it would be. Given the certain life expectancy and that it's over now, a lot of the taxpayers of Mahwah are very worried as to how much these tanks will cost and what the expense is to put them in. So that was definitely one of the more intriguing factors of the town council meeting.
As you know, I'm an attorney and I represent three water body license applicants, licensees prospective, A1 water body, Minnesota water body, Ramsey water body. I see it's.
I was very surprised by the real anger and emotion people had specifically about the towing companies. There was this one gentleman who came up numerous times complaining about the township police department's interactions with him and how he really felt upset that every time he came and tried to promote his business through this township contract, there was another roadblock in the way. And he really tried to use his rights as a citizen and go up there and speak to the council members, and I think they felt for him, but at the end they really said they were not the ones who could really resolve the issue. This right now is currently a museum space, but once held the Mahwah Library up until 1998. when it was relocated to Ridge Road.
So, what did you think of the museum?
Well, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, they had so many cool exhibits, like the Les Paul exhibit, that was fantastic. Like 5 signed Les Paul guitars, and all the information that they had on the neighborhoods, it was just awesome.
Yeah, and those guitars, I mean, they're probably worth millions. Could you imagine how much money you would make selling those guitars?
I know, right? And did you see the archives? Like, there was so much stuff in the archives.
Yeah,
That's
could
awesome.
you believe that, like, honestly, I think it's kind of depressing that they can't fit all of that, you know, amazing material in the one museum.
Yeah.
If they could have everything out there, that'd be awesome. But, you know, I guess there's just so much history on Mahwah.
What really interested me is, I don't know if you saw, but on the walls, they had some paintings from the past. There was one super detailed waterfall painting. It looked like it was centuries old.
Yeah. Oh, and did you see the exhibit of the whole entire town itself, where they had the light up streets and everything running through it? I thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a place.
I'm gonna guess Mr. Van Winkle with the candlestick in the Rampo Reformed Church.
Let's go to the Havemeyer house.
I remember when rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and skimming stones. Had an old gold Chevy and a place of my own, but the biggest kick I ever got was doing a thing called the crocodile rock, while the other kids were rocking round the clock. We were hopping and bopping to the crocodile rock. Well, crocodile rocking, a song for shouting when your feet just can't keep still. I never knew me a better time, and I guess I never will. On Friday nights, when Susie wore dress that tight, and the crowd rocking running out of the side.
We have now rolled on the Havemeyer house. The Havemeyer house was built in 1849 by Mr. Theodore Havemeyer for his daughter Lily. The Havemeyers, as a family, gained their wealth through the sugar refinery business. Their sugar refinery business is now commonly known as Domino Sugar, a household product. The Havemeyer house was actually used as a one-night stay for Mr. George Washington, and the Havemeyers have many other estates in Newport, Rhode Island, and various places.
So this house was purchased eventually by Ramapo College, and it's currently inhabited by its president. It's a beautiful example of Italian architecture, really one of the only of its type in the township and the region. So here we are in the Fardale section of Mahwah, at the corner of Wyckoff Avenue going this way, Forest Road going this way, and this is the Ackerman house here. It's a beautiful colonial house dating back to the early 1800s. It was owned by Garrett G. Ackerman, and he owned it until about 1870 when he died in a carriage accident on Fardale Avenue. His son John then inherited this house, and as I said, it really is truly a beautiful house. It's been kept in decent shape. So obviously back in the day when this house was built, there was no running water, and houses used wells for plumbing, and you can see by this old rusty chain that this was the well that served the Ackermans. So the Ackerman family was really the epitome of the Mahwah farming family over here in Fardale in the 18th and 19th centuries. The Ackermans owned a gristmill nearby, and also several other houses and farms in Bergen County. And in general, a lot of the different farming families in Fardale were responsible for transporting game and produce to Patterson using the railroad systems on a weekly basis. And because Fardale is so close to Wyckoff and Ramsey, they felt ostracized from Mahwah politics. They really had a bigger influence during the 1800s in Wyckoff and Ramsey. They attended church there. They engaged in social activities there. And in the 20th century, really after World War II, the open land in Fardale was really sought after because there was more space to build large houses. And the houses here now are much more conventional than they are in the older parts of Mahwah, and there are still tracts of farmland still visible in the area.
Somebody has Mr. Van Winkle over here in the Havemeyer house with the brake shoe.
I'll write it too. Here we are at the Mount Zion AME Zion Church off of Island Road. Now, interestingly, the original Zion Church was donated by Henry Havemeyer, and it was a one-room schoolhouse. Then, as of 1890, the church was forced to relocate onto Green Mountain Valley. Then, in 1904, the church joined the AME Zion Conference and renamed it the Mount Zion AME Zion Church. Then, in 1930, the property was purchased on Grove Street, and where it is now located today. Alright, I'm gonna guess Holman with the matchstick at the AME Zionist Church.
3.
Oh, darn.
Nice! Darlington Schoolhouse.
Dude, you've got to be kidding me.
Hi. I didn't see you there, but we're actually at the Darlington Schoolhouse. This schoolhouse was co-founded by Alfred Darling and Mr. Theodore Havemeyer. Since the opening of the schoolhouse, it is now owned by the new headquarters of the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. Originally, this schoolhouse was used as a schoolhouse for grades 1 through 8, a one-room schoolhouse on the first floor, but the second floor was actually used as a church for those who were part of the Ramapo Reformed Church.
Actually, the Darlington Schoolhouse was designed by the architect Dudley Newton, who Theodore Havemeyer knew personally and had designed some of his houses up in the New England area. In 2014, the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference began to raise funds to reconstruct this place, and the deck on which I'm now standing did not exist. It's part of an addition to the schoolhouse. Now, this schoolhouse is also known as Havemeyer Hall, and it's regarded as one of the finest schoolhouses in all of New Jersey.
You're kidding me.
Ha! Ramapo Reservation. I'm currently standing in one of the largest park areas in Bergen County, the Ramapo Reservation off of Route 202. This parkland is comprised of over 4,000 acres of land, and a popular trail is right around the Scarlet Oak Pond, which would have eventually led to the gravel quarry that I am currently standing in. Right now I'm standing along a waterfall of the McMillan Reservoir, and had you gone all the way up, you would have seen what used to be the water supply of Crocker Mansion.
So here we are at the ski area parking lot at Campco Mountain Reservation, and we're really at the wrong season to be here. During the winter this would be filled because Campco Mountain has great ski slopes and really is also a great employer of Mahwah High School students. This is one of the other great parklands in Mahwah, and before the arrival of the Europeans, this mountain was inhabited by Minsi Lenape Native Americans, and the park actually opened in June of 1961, and it forced a lot of the Native Americans to abandon their homes here and move to other areas. Between 1955 and 1971, on parts of this mountain near Fike Road and also in Franklin Lakes, Nike missile base operated on Campco Mountain, and these missiles were pointed at New York City, one of many locations around New York City, in a circular location to defend the airspace just in case a Russian missile came to try to threaten us. So after the fall of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, this area was decommissioned and they stripped all of the landing material, and the U.S. military left that area. So if you go up there now, it's really just a few old barns and some open fields and some remnants of what was. Now, just like at the Ramapo Reservation, There are a lot of great hiking trails here as well. It's not just for skiing. So there are some beautiful long trails that go up the mountain. You can see the ski lifts, some really nice vistas leading all the way. You can see the top of Ramapo College. And when you're on these trails, you can see a lot of cool old artifacts. There are some lean-tos, there's some abandoned toboggans, some rusted out cars, and there's some old cabins and sheds that they use during the winter. So it's really an interesting place to hike if you have a lot of time.
Oh, I'm so glad I got here before Evan. He's gonna be so mad. What is that? We got it. Finally, I'm here. I know what to pick. I am going to accuse Mr. Van Winkle in the Ramapo Reservation with the matchstick.
You guessed the matchstick. I'm gonna accuse Mr. Van Winkle with the poisoned strawberries in the Ramapo Reservation.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there.